Hello everyone, my name is Javier Gomez, member of the UDS technical team, and in this video we're going to see how to deploy Windows machines with UDS Enterprise. To do this, what we are going to need is a Windows 10 machine template. In the case that you want to use a Windows 11, it is totally compatible and it will go the same way. Of course, we are going to need a UDS deployment and a compatible hypervisor. As you can see, we are going to use vSphere and VMware. So let's start with the process. The first thing that we'll do will be access our UDS server, and we will authenticate with an administrator user or a super user or the super user. In this case, it's going to be the super user. Once we are inside, we can enter the dashboard, and in this panel we can start completing all the steps that we need. The first step is going to be the services tab. Let's click on new so we can create a new provider. In our case, if you remember, it's going to be VMware vCenter, so let's click on it. First thing will be get a name for this element. Let's put VMware. Then it will be the IP of the vCenter. In my case, it's going to be 0.3, I think it is, yes. The port, in our case, we're going to leave it by default. It's going to be 443. And in the username and password, we give him a username that will have the privileges to create machines on the vCenter. And the password for the super user in this case. And in the advanced tab, we can leave it by default. We can click on test to see if it passes successfully. It does, so we can now save. Once the service provider is created, we can start creating the base services. So as you can see, we have three types: full clones, linked clones, or fixed pole machines. In this case, we are going to use linked clones, but you can use the type that you most like. Let's create the new service. Let's give him a name, Windows 10. Let's tell him the data center where it's going to be saved, the resource pool where we want it to be saved also, 3.5 applications, there it is, and the data stores. Well, this will be saved. As you can see, in this case we are choosing both SSDs. UDS will check the one that has more free space. In the next tab, we will check the resource pool for the machine, the group of machines. Let's tell it it's going to be 3.5 templates in my case, and of course the base machine that we're going to need, the template. Here it is, Windows 10. Next step will be tell them the RAM for that machine. In this case, it's going to be 2 gigs. The main network and the application network. The clones folder where we want the clones to be. Of course, again, the data stores, as I told you before, you choose both. UDS will check for the one that has more free space. Then we will give these machines a base name. For example, Windows 10, and we will tell them the name length that will have those machines. In this case, as you can see, we will have 3 in length, and it will go 000, 001, 002. So here you can choose the name length that you want. Let's click on save. Okay, once we have a service created, we can go to the authenticator part. In the authenticator part, as you can see, in my case, I already have an internal database created. But you can, of course, choose whatever you want. In this case, as you can see, it's going to be internal database. We already have a group and a user created. Next step will be the OS manager. Let's click on new. And in this case, it's going to be a Windows Basic OS manager. We will tell a lot of script name. Windows OS Manager, something easy. Then we will tell them the logout action. This will be the action that's going to happen when the user does the logout of that machine. You have three options. You can have a persistent machine, a non-persistent machine, or a semi-persistent machine. In this case, as you can see, we are going to choose our non-persistent machine. So when the user logs out of that machine will be erased and we will create another one. Of course, we will have to check max idle time for the inactivity. In this case, it will be 300, but you can put the time that you want. In the advanced tab, we can leave it by default and we can click on save. Once the OS Manager is ready, we can go to the transports. In this case, we will choose new and we will check the direct transports and the tunnel transports. We will create two transports. One direct transports is going to be the RDP connection. Let's tell it a simple name. Everything else can be left by default. In the credentials tab here, we can put the username and the password of the machine. In this case, there's a user created called UDS and password UDS. As this machine it is not in a domain, we can check the without domain parts. In the parameters tab, you can choose all the parameters that you need for your connection. In this case, we are going to leave it by default. You can choose anything that you like. And the display tab, same as before, you can leave it by default. And the same for the Linux, Mac, and the advanced tab. For this case, we can all leave it by default. Next step will be to create a new tunnel transport. In this case, it's going to be an HTML5 connection. When we want to use the HTML5 connection for our direct connections, we of course will have to use our tunnel or UDS tunneler. So let's start. Let's tell a name, HTML5 direct. The only thing that we will change here will be change their priority. We will tell them to, as the RDP has 1, in this case we will tell them 2. As you can see there, a lower number means higher priority, so this transport will have less priority than the RDP transport. This will be the second transport. In the tunnel tab, we will tell the IP or the DNS name of our tunneler. In my case, we will use the IP. In our case, 011, and of course we can't forget to tell them the port. In my case, this is by default, so we will check the 10443. In the credentials tab, same as we did before, we are going to tell them the username and the password of that machine, and we will check that without domain check. What we achieve with this is that these credentials will be redirected to the machine, so we don't have to put these credentials 2 times. The parameters tab, we can leave it by default. Same will be for the advanced tab, but always remember to choose any security type to avoid any changes, any problems. And we can click on save. Now we have an RDP connection and an HTML5 connection. Next step will be in the pools. Let's start creating our new final service. Let's tell it a name, Windows 10 in this case. The base service that we already have created is going to be the VMware Windows 10, the Windows OS Manager that we have created. In the display, we have the option to have an image and a poll, and an image for the poll and a poll group. in this case we can leave it by default. In the advanced tab we can leave it by default, and the availability tab, here we will tell how many machines we will create. So we will tell them to have 2 machines in cache always, and a maximum number of machines will be in this case 5. So in this case we will always have 2 machines in cache until we have 5 maximum machines. So we can click on save. Now it's saved, we can enter inside, and now we can start configuring this service pool. Let's start with the group. Let's tell them the group that we have created before. It's our internal database and the admin group. So we click on OK. In the transports, we can't forget to add the 2 transports that we have created, one by one, of course, the Html5 and the RDP. And now we will only have to wait until the new publication is created in our platform. As you can see here in the publications group, we can see that already the publication machine is being created. We will have to wait until this machine is in a valid state. Once the machine is in a valid state, we can pass to see the cache tab to see how these machines are being created. As you can see, we already have a machine with the 3 number lengths that we wanted. In this case, the 000. The next one will be 001. As you can see here, 000 and 001. The process of the creation of these machines will depend totally on the hypervisor. So for now, we can see that the actor is already been detected. The cache level of the machine has already been detected also. And as you can see, we already have one machine in a valid state with the IP, its name, the actor, everything is correct. The second machine is still creating. As we have one machine in a valid state, we can now try and enter this service. So let's go to the user mode. Let's do a logout and enter with the user that we have created in the internal database. Okay, so once we're inside, we can see that this user can see the service that we have created. In the case, as you can see, that we have one more transport, you will be able to see them. In this case, we have 2 transports, so in the connection tab, we can see both of the connections. As you remember, RDP had higher priority, so this will be the first one, and Html5 will be the second one. Let's test the connection with RDP. Of course, remember that you will always have to have the UDS client installed in your local machine. So let's click on it. Let's open the client. And it will start connecting to the machine. As you remember, we already put the credentials, so you won't have to type them there, and you will already be inside your Windows 10 machine. Let's do a sign out so we can see what's going to happen to this machine. Once the machine has been disconnected, we can go to our dashboard to see that that machine is being already removed. In this case, it's still removing, as this is a non-persistent machine. When you do the logout, the machine will be erased. That still 000 machine will be erased, and the platform will start creating the new machine. As you can see here, the machine 002 is already being created. So we have the one machine already valid, so you already have 2 machines now, again valid for the users. And now you can see the machine has been already removed. So now let's do a test with the Html5 Connection Protocol. through the tunnel, of course. Let's allow, and as you can see, same as before, the credentials will be redirected to the machine, and you won't need to do the credentials again. It's a new tab in your browser. Now let's sign out of the machine, and then we go back to the dashboard. We can see again that the service will be removed. So this will be all for now. Thank you very much for your time. Hope this video suits you very well, and have a great day. Bye.